Hi cats and kittens, it's Amy from Savor Salvage Scent. I hope you're doing great. Long story short, I have not made a video for some time. My apologies for that. I have been going through some house renovations and some health challenges, but I'm having a good day today. So I wanted to, this is a bit different from maybe the usual being mostly centered on all things fragrant, but also some occasional DIY and other creative projects. But today I thought I would talk to you about what I think are great things to bring home from travels in France. In my case, I have been going to Paris the last few years. So I've been 3 times, and I hope to retire there someday or live there. But in the meantime, while I've been on a tight budget for a few years as I'm renovating a house and making some life changes, this is kind of one of the places I do spend some money. And I thought I would share with you both things that I have loved to bring home for myself, but also as gifts for others or souvenirs. I'm also learning French, and for those of you who don't know, this is probably obvious for a lot of you, but it's been fun to kind of connect the dots for me. Souvenirs, souvenir means basically memories or to remember. So it's really, I think, great whenever I travel, whether it's nearby, another city, or in this case, in another country. I tend to buy my gifts while I'm there. And so first I'm going to share with you, how do I do that? How do I get things home? And then I'm going to talk to you about some of my favorite things. And I'm going to talk to you in each category about things that I find to be like a steal or really budget friendly. I'm often on a tight budget, and I want you all to know, if you've not experienced it, that I heard for years that France was just so prohibitively expensive, but I actually find there's a lot of things you can do for free or really cheaply or on a budget. And so I'm going to share some kind of low end or low cost ideas, but also some higher end things if you're in a splurge place in your life. Some of these things I have on hand because I've kept for myself, or I've kept them as gifts for others. So I do the majority of my like birthday, event, holiday shopping while I'm there. And some of these things, I'm just going to pull up pictures quickly and show you. Quickly, I just thought I would tell you that one of the ways that I do this cheaply is I tend to go to France in what I think would be considered off seasons, but still really nice time. So I tend to go at the end of March or early April, or I go in the fall, but when it's still warm, so like October. And one of the ways that I travel cheaply is, and I actually prefer this now, I tend to, I take just a carry-on luggage, like the one allowed piece of carry-on luggage, and then a carry-on bag or a purse, a large handbag. And I find that, you know, even if you go for like the last time I went for a couple weeks, even when I go for 2 weeks, I find that I wear the same 5 or 6 things often. So I tend to take like travel light. I take, you know, enough, you know, underpinnings, of course, but also like just a couple things to sleep in. I bring usually a rain jacket and maybe a jean jacket or something like that, a light jacket, and a couple things that are really light to pack, like easy dresses or shirts and jeans, or just a few pairs of shoes. And I pack this all in, including my toiletries. Some of those go in my carry-on, but most in my little piece of luggage. And then I take a foldable piece of luggage that I can put everything in on my way back, and then I can fill my, my protective piece of luggage, the first carry-on that I bring over, with gifts on the way home. Sorry idea, but essentially I take my small allotted carry-on, I fill that with my clothes and such. I wear a few things so that I can transition them while I'm there. And I have my purse packed with my toiletries and everything. And within my piece of luggage, I have an expandable bag that can serve as my luggage on the way home. I put all of my stuff in there on the way home, and then I fill my gifts in my original piece of luggage. This way I only have to pay for 1 piece of luggage on my way home. I always buy budget tickets. So just a traveling tip if it's helpful to you all. So now, what things would you consider as good souvenirs? Okay, so here are the categories. I'm going to talk through a few categories. I'm going to tell you what they are up front. Jewelry, always great, small, always fit, that kind of thing. Combs, hair clips, and brushes. Of course, I'm going to talk about perfumes because that's one of my best and most favorite addictions. I'm going to talk about other toiletries. I'm going to talk about paper goods, books, and prints. I'm going to talk about candies and sweets. I'm going to talk about home goods, such as everything from candles to napkins to towels to that kind of thing. And then I'm going to talk about cooking things, so things like spices, mustards, honeys, and jams. And I've tried within each category to give you a few ideas, ranging from free or low cost to splurges if you're in that place in your life. So first, let's talk about jewelry. I find that Paris especially is a wonderful place to find really interesting jewelry. I am going to talk to you, so I have an obsession with old Bakelite jewelry. You can see I'm wearing some today, but I love really cool plastic jewelry, and I find that Paris has a lot of it. I'm not sure why. And I'm also going to show you some other pieces of jewelry that I've gotten. Now, all of these have been really basically affordable for me, but I'm going to tell you about a few places you might consider if you're in a splurge place. So for splurge, I mean, there are the obvious contenders, probably places like Chanel, some of the other French company, Vuitton, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a lot of things to consider. And I should include in this category not only jewelry, but handbags. And you can, the sky's the limit. However, I'll say if you're trying to keep costs low and find designer jewelry or more expensive handbags, I have a few suggestions too. A lot of the fleas are great. Whenever you visit Paris, you can actually pull up online. There are lists of the different open air or closed markets, covered markets, marchés, and they'll even break them down by day of the week and where they're at and what the train stop is. So that makes it really easy. And I find that there are a lot of really, really, really great jewelry at the Fleas. And for handbags, again, the obvious contenders for the kind of costly or splurge handbags, Chanel's a big one for a lot of people, Vuitton. But there's a company called, I think it's Polin. I unfortunately, long story short, I ran out of kind of room, but last time I was there, I learned about this French company, and they make handbags kind of in the $100 to $300 category, and they're really, really beautiful. So I want to show you just a few examples of jewelry and a handbag that I have acquired. So again, try not to judge me. This has been over 3 trips, and I've done most things on a budget. So first, again, I am really into plastic jewelry, and it just seems like there's a lot of it there. Everything from, I find it at the open air markets often will have it. Here's an example that I got last time. How cute is this pin? These are little, they're supposed to look like little eyeglasses. Now again, if this was lucite or bakelite and vintage, this would be a couple $100s probably. I think I paid $15 at a market. This is a new maker. They're French, but so cute. Loved that. I have also had a lot of luck in I'm never sure if it's pronounced Marais. Let me know if you know. I'm still working on my French. But I'm going to give you a few examples of some of the really great, creative, beautiful jewelry that I've gotten. And most of these things have been around the $20 price point. So some really great earrings. A couple other examples. These, so cool. They kind of like go up your ear. And then some, again, really great plastic bangles. These were like 10 or 12, I want to say. I got one little boutique in them, right? And then I got one, I think at a market. And then there are a lot of great at both the markets, and then some areas there's a concentration of really great Black owned or African businesses, and fabulous stuff. So like these wonderful bracelets I think I paid 10 or 15 for. This was near Les Halles. That's a great area to go if you just want to shop around, find some great boutiques. Some of it's really, really affordable too. So great ideas for jewelry. And then I'm going to show you a steal of a handbag that I got last time. So I'm going to say over and over for the budget options for a lot of these categories, the Monoprix is fantastic. Monoprix is a really pervasive grocery store, and some of them are quite large. And again, you can Google this when you're in France, but there's many, many, many. I mean, like almost every arrondissement I've stayed in or visited has had a Monoprix within walking distance. And then there's a few really big ones. Like if I remember correctly, I stayed near Saint Germain last time, and there was a very large one there, and I'm going to show you an example of a budget buy. So I really wanted to get a more expensive handbag this last time, and guess what? My boiler blew right before I left, and then my water heater went right after I got home. So wasn't in the stars, but I love things that to me remind me of France, look Frenchy, and stripes is a big one. And I thought this handbag, and it's really just a casual like canvas handbag, was so cute. So it has these little leather handles that you can use as like a, either over your shoulder, or you can hold like this, or it has a strap here too that you can change, and you can almost wear it as a messenger bag. This was, I think, 25 euros, so about 30 bucks. Fantastic deal, beautiful. This will be great for summer after summer for years, I'm sure. So just an example again of a really great thing for self or as a gift for somebody. So next, this seems like a little thing, but again, I think it's really neat to get things that you will have the rest of your life, or that you'll remember, or something that's made in that place. So I'm going to talk to you both about an affordable option for hairbreadths, clips, brushes, combs, and then more of a splurge. So for affordable, there are some really, really great, I would say there are pharmacies in every neighborhood. And again, you can pull up a list of what's close to you. There's a particular one, I'm going to put its name right below now, because I can't remember it right now. But it's my favorite, and they carry so many great things. So the things that you would expect, like, you know, drugs and great skincare and things like that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But they also, this particular pharmacy, a few of them, but this particular one that's my favorite, they have a selection of the most beautiful hairbreadths that are made in France. And again, they're these really interesting plastics. And then they also have pretty affordable, but really well made, like have it your whole life combs. So here's an example of one. I think this was like 10 or 12 euros, really pretty kind of tortoiseshell, and just, you know, either can be really cute with a bob or to tie your hair back. So a really cute thing for self or for a gift. And then here's another example of a darker colored one. And I think this is around the same price. I bought a few of these as gifts for loved ones too, because I find them to be super, super durable. They say made in France, handmade in France, they say, and they're just really beautiful. And I can't say enough about this pharmacy. Again, I'm going to put the name below, but they also have fantastic soaps, etc. So I'm going to show you more of that later. And then more of a like mid category, they have beautiful handmade combs. I think these run more like, I would say 30, 40, something like that. But again, really beautiful. Some of them even come in like bags or sheaths. Really great. And again, you'll have this your whole life, and just really, really pretty. And then more of a splurge. This is a splurge, at least for me, and something I wasn't going to do. And then I heard over and over from people that it was such a good investment. So I bought a Mason Pearson brush. These are made in France. A lot of people will know these from the darker kind of, I forget what they call it. It's like a dark, dark tortoiseshell that almost looks black. These run more depending on the size. This is kind of like, I think it's called the hand, I'll put the name below, but this is more of like a handbag size. I think they have one that's slightly smaller, like a child size, and then they have, I think, two larger ones. And they range anywhere from, I think, about $75 to about $200. I think I paid about $100 for this, and I know that's a lot, but again, I heard from people that they had, like my sister, for instance, has had one most of her life. And also, I'll just say they feel phenomenal. They either have artificial or, I think, boar hair. I'll, again, put more information below, but they come with like a kit, how to clean it. Again, something you'll have for your life. And I just loved this blue color. I don't think it's for everybody, but I thought it was really pretty. So this was one of my splurges last time that I hope to have for my whole life. Mason Pearson brush. For a beauty person, this would be a really cool thing to get. So, okay, next, a big category, as you might imagine, perfumes. you know, this is one of the greatest places to buy perfumes. It's where so many perfumes have started and continue to be made. Many, many houses there. You can visit so many different shops and houses. It's such a great experience. I'm going to start with really affordable and then go into more like splurge category. I'm just going to say over and over again that French pharmacies and the Monoprix are your friends. I can find something in almost every one of these categories in those shops. Incredible stuff, just incredible. I'm going to start with super affordable, and I only have a few ideas here, but there's so many. So there are a lot of things that you can find in pharmacies. One is Roger & Gallet, which is a super, super old house, considered kind of pharmacy grade, but also really, really revered. A lot of these run from, I think these are 1 ounce or maybe 0.75. These run anywhere from about 10 euros to about 20 or 22, something like that. So very affordable. This is a beautiful osmanthus scent. So nice. These tend to be more like cologne weight or quality. But really refreshing, beautiful. They have everything for, you know, everybody on the gender spectrum, no matter where you are. Really great. They also have beautiful soaps, etc. We'll talk about that a little more later, but Roger & Gallet is a great option. Another is, gosh, I'm not sure how to pronounce this brand. Is it Caudalie? This is a beautiful, it's called Soleil Divin. So it's like sun and vines, basically. Or anyways, this is like a nice summer solar scent. It even smells a little coconutty. This is about 20 bucks. So one of my favorite pharmacies is near Les Halles, and I will again put their information below. It's enormous, and they have the most amazing promotions and sales. I think I bought this and like a cream together, and it was like 15 or 20 euros. So these are really affordable, and they're harder to find here. And so I find it's really fun to get things for people that they can't get here. So that's a great option. So those are all like probably $20 or under. Another option is, now you can find these in the States now in Target, but you can find more of the scents there. And this is just one of my favorite scents ever. It's by a company called Sola Notes, and this is their Fleur d'Oranger scent. It's one of my favorites. Oh, it's so good. And I think this runs about 15 euros there. It's super affordable, so good. I've been through like 3 bottles of this, and so has my best friend has, I think, on her 2nd bottle. Another low end, I mean, surprisingly, and it's like a wonderful French boutique. Now, I think these are made more in the south of France, if I'm correct, but this is a company called Panier des Cents, and this is their orange flower scent. This, I think, is around $30, and they're just starting to be carried in the US, but they have, if you visit their boutiques in Paris, there's a few. Oh my gosh, they have so many incredible creams, candles, like good quality candles for like $25 and $30. A lot of scents in the 20 to 30 range, soaps and hand creams that are much more affordable, and they treat me like $1 million in there. It is such a great place, so highly suggest that. Now I'm going to talk about a few kind of mid-range price perfumes, and then I'm going to talk about a few splurges. So surprisingly, when I was last there were 2 that I felt that were really, really well priced for what you got. 2 are by Fragonard, which is like one of the oldest perfume houses. I think they're out of Grasse, and I hope to go there someday. But you'll find shops throughout Paris, and I was amazed. So many of their scents were in the like 25 to 35 euro kind of category. This is one called Belle de Grace, and this is just such a gorgeous fresh scent. And what I loved is, unfortunately I don't have them anymore, but their boxes are beautiful. And then look at this bottle. I think this was like $30 some, and this has a carrot note and like mimosa and a lot of things that you'll smell early in spring. It's such a gorgeous spring scent. I'm absolutely in love with this thing. And then this is one called Mon Immortel. This has almost like an anisey, licoricey but sweet kind of quality, and this was even cheaper. I think this was like 25 euros, something like that. I don't find that they're as, if you can find them at home, you can't find as many types of Fragonard, but if you find them here, they're not as inexpensive. But a really great price and come beautifully packaged, and sometimes I'll wrap them really beautifully. Another great mid-price option, but to me, with a really high-end feel, there's a place in Place des Vosges, and I believe the perfumer's name is Christian Louis. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But they make the scents, I believe, in the south of France, but they have this beautiful shop at Place des Vosges. And this, for instance, is a scent that is a tonka and orange flower scent, and I feel it's perfectly unisex. And this was like, I want to say about like 60 euros, which I thought was amazing for a 3.4 ounce. Like at the high-end perfumers, this would be $200. So I thought this was an incredible price for what it is, and it's a beautiful experience going there, and they also wrapped it beautifully. So another great choice. And now I'm going to creep up into the more of the splurges. You can of course spend much more, but I'm going to show you a few that have been splurges over the years. This is kind of, I would say, a more affordable splurge, but Diptyque I always recommend. Their shop in Saint Germain is like my favorite, but any Diptyque experience I have found in France to be really wonderful. I've been treated really well. They spend a lot of time with you. I love both. I just love their scents, classics. This is Eau Duelle, which is like a beautiful vanillic scent, but they're also packaged beautifully, and they have these beautiful labels on the back of the bottle. And I find this is a place where, again, they spend a lot of time with you. They throw in a ton of samples, so you can have that to bring home for yourself or for others, which is really great. So it's just a really, really wonderful experience, Diptyque. And it's so, it's such a French shop, so it's really fun. I would say, I think this is like in the, I'll put the price below, but I think more in the $70, $80 range, which I do not find to be bad for the quality of the experience and how much they throw in and that kind of thing. So another that I would say is on the lower end of splurge, and a wonderful shop experience, things by Parlez Moi, the perfumer. So this is, I believe, a 1 or 1.5 ounce. This is their Jumeau de Noël, so their Christmas marshmallow scent. Heavenly. I want to say this is closer to like $90, $100 price point, but really fabulous. I got 2 scents from them a few years ago, and you can see quite a done in here. I've worn them like crazy. They're really beautiful. And I've talked to other people who've had a really great experience in the shop. So highly recommend that. And then I'm going to talk, and here's an example of what they threw in the box. So they walked me through not only scents that are being sold, but also things that they're in production right now. And then they threw in this whole sample set with a bottle of perfume, which I thought was amazing. I think there's 5 or 6 large samples in here. So that's a great way to get to know a house. And then I'm going to talk about 2 splurges that I think are so great for what you get price-wise. Guerlain, I would say in general, I have found to be, what should I say? The first time I went there 3 years ago, I had an incredible experience pre-COVID. It was just a much different experience. I'll put some pictures below about how you test the scents there. It was very cool. Since sadly, it's gotten less personal, and I found it to be a bit snobbier, I'm going to be honest, but Guerlain's Guerlain, and it's gorgeous stuff. Now, they have priced me out of a lot of their like art materials line. That stuff has become $350, $400, which I just, I cannot get over it. Now, I love some of them. They threw some of them in the bag with this purchase, but I tend to go for their classics. This is Nahima, and I wanted this rose scent for years, finally got my hands on it. I want to say this was about 120, something like that. Again, I'm going to put the price below, but it is so gorgeous. You only need a spray or 2 of this. And I'm also going to put a picture of what their gift wrapping and their bags look like, because it is quite impressive. So this, I think, is really, really worth it, especially if this is a harder scent to get back home, which I find to be. So really beautiful, beautifully packaged, a classic, great for a perfume lover, and I think worth the price in this case. And then this was a mind blow the last time I went. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. I had heard about this shop. It's called, ready? Officine Universelle Bully. I believe it was an old like pharmacy / toiletry kind of place originally, but has had a revival. I think it was closed for some time and then had a revival. I don't know if it was 6, 8, 10 years ago, something like that. And there was one in the Saint Germain neighborhood, and I was so glad to have stumbled upon it. I'm going to put some photos here. This is an experience that I spent probably 2 hours there. I was treated like $1 million, and for what you get, you can find souvenirs there. Everything from really small, simple things, but wonderful. You could use your whole life. I got this phenomenal, cool French-made toothbrush, for instance. They also have like hand creams and lotions and beautiful perfumed oils, perfumes. They also have so many different kinds of brushes and serums and so many things. Again, I'm going to put pictures below. But their perfumes I found to be, they were gorgeous. This is one that's supposed to smell like a forest, essentially. It's called Forêt, let's say, is it de Comey? And it, oh, I just loved this. I loved like half of what I smelled there, enough to buy. But this one is so different than anything I had at home. This only ran about, I wouldn't think 100, 120, something like that. And I thought for the experience, and then they wrap things. I'm going to give you an example of one of their bags. They wrap things so beautifully. So this is one of their bags, and they also wrap the box, and then they have, I'm going to get a picture below, people who will do hand calligraphy of your giftee's name. It is just, you feel like it is such a wonderful experience, and a lot of things you can have engraved. So for instance, I brought home brushes and combs for friends. I had both like hair brushes, and then I found even like mustache or beard brushes that you could have engraved with initials or name. So cool. And some of those things were only like $15 to $30, $40. So really a range of experiences. They had gifts probably in the $300 range, and they had gifts in the $10 and $15 range. So it was an amazing experience. I cannot say enough about it. So those are a lot of examples of perfumes. I'm going to talk quickly about some other toiletries. So again, from low end to high end, one of my favorite things is the company Les Petits Marseillais. And you can find this stuff at the Monoprix, in drugstores, pharmacies, and this is one of their almond hand creams that I cannot find at home. My best friend and I both love this. I think this is like 3 or 4 euros. It is so emollient, so beautiful. So that's a great, affordable thing to get for somebody. Gosh, I love French pharmacy products. I should have brought some out, but there are wonderful, I'm going to put some names of companies and some products that I love most. There's some really emollient creams. There's some great shampoos and conditioners. There's some great like healing balms. Some of these are just so amazingly affordable, either the same price you would pay for pharmacy stuff here in the US, sometimes even cheaper. So I'm going to give you some ideas below. And I find that like my beauty friends really love some of that stuff, especially if it's hard to get here. And then again, from Officine de Bully, these are just some little hand creams that are wonderful. And then this is from a pharmacy. Now this is an Italian line. I think it's pronounced Ortigia. It's from Sicilia, or Sicily. And in this case, it's just in such a beautiful box. It's this lime soap. Oh, it smells so good. Oh my gosh, it smells like lime blossom, actually. So I think this was like $6 or $8. So a lot of really, really great things. And then of course there are things like candles. Again, I find it Panier de Sang that they have wonderful, wonderful candles for like the $20 to $30 price point. And then if you're in for a splurge, but this is a splurge that to me is worth it, diptyque candles. Now in Paris, they run about, I want to say 55, 60. At home, they're more like 70, 80. This is one of my favorite scents. I find it to be a scent that is in food and perfume in France, but not so much in the US, violet. And this is so beautiful. I burn this very, I would say, irregularly for special occasions, but this will last me months doing so. And then I will leave this in the, for instance, a powder room for months because it will make the whole powder room smell amazing, like this candle. When then I'm done burning them, I often will use them to put little flower arrangements in, or I put like makeup brushes or, pencils, things like that. So really great thing for self or for a splurge for a friend or family. I have not talked about scarves and clothing. So again, they're the classic contenders that you've probably heard about or experienced. So Hermes, I actually entertained again getting an Hermes scarf last time, and then I had to do a really budget trip because of some house costs. But I want to show you some really great things I got otherwise as far as scarves, and then I'm going to give you a few ideas for clothing too. So on the low end, I have on a scarf from the Monoprix, and It's just, I think this was $8 or $10. And it's got the alphabet and these wonderful colors. I've worn this as a hair scarf. I've worn it tied around my neck. I've worn it tied to a purse. And, you know, I don't think it looks cheap. I think it looks fantastic for the price. So this is a great thing for self or for others. I'm going to show you another Monoprix scarf I got the last trip. I think this was $8 or $10. I don't know what it is about me and the alphabet apparently, but this is a wonderful Monoprix scarf. Again, I've worn this as a hair scarf tied around my neck. And this is, I don't know if it's silk, but it definitely has a silky feel. And I've gotten tons of compliments on this. I think people think this is a high-end scarf. I think somebody even asked me if it was. So anyways, this is a great gift to self. And then here's an example of one I got at a flea market recently. Or no, this was actually, I'm going to put the ideas for a few vintage shops below. That is a great place to find high-end jewelry, handbags, scarves, sometimes for dirt cheap prices, if you don't mind having something used. So in this case, sorry, this is folded because I wore it recently. This is a silk designer scarf from France. I think it's probably 60s or 70s by the look at it. It was in perfect condition. This was in a bin. This was in a place called Thank God I'm VIP, and it's a great vintage shop. I want to say it's not far from the Pompidou, just to give you an idea, but this was in a bin that I think was $3 or $5 scarves. Yeah, so great. I get compliments on this. It's striking. I love it. To me, it looks like a $300 scarf. So really, really a great purchase for myself for last time. And then something that was more of like mid-range price, but I think really great for what it was. I was surprised when I went to Fragonard and I had this great experience with really affordable perfumes. They had some incredible scarves. This is one of those like longer, gosh, this is probably 6 foot, maybe even 8 foot long, but it's a huge piece. It's a real statement piece. It looks Indian, and you can see it has these phenomenal colors. So I was just in love with these colors. I love yellows and oranges. And it's enormous. It's probably 3 foot by maybe 6, 7 foot. And I think I paid about $50 for this. So not a whim for me, at least, but I felt like was really, really great for the size and the price and the impact compared to the, you know, $300 and $400 and $500 scarves that you see by designers. So that was a really, really exciting purchase that I'll have and wear forever. I tend to wear scarves. I have some scarves. I have one that's French that was from a friend, and then I have some scarves this size that I wore for 20 years before they, you know, practically rotted. So I think that's a really great gift. And an example of how beautiful the packaging is. This was my Fragonard bag. And they threw all kinds of samples in that too. So I thought that was really, really cool. Next, something that people might not think much about, but the first 2 trips, I don't know what it was. I think I was on my way to other monuments and just, I think they're not open year round, but they're the bouquinistes, which are basically like the book and the print sellers, and they're all along the Seine. And you'll see, I'm going to put pictures below, you'll see they've been around. I think they're considered like a historical site. They've been around, I think, for about 100 years at least. And they have these wooden boxes. And so they tend to only sell when the weather's pretty decent, but that's a lot of the time. And they're independent little booksellers. They're their own businesses. They've set up along the Seine, and there's just box after box. And so I'll put the crossroads here down below of where they kind of start and end, but they're both sides of the Seine. And I spent a whole afternoon doing that, and it was one of the most fun experiences I've ever had. And things can be so affordable. Now, there's a lot of tchotchkes, if that's your thing. Like if somebody wants a kind of cheaper, like Eiffel Tower pendant or something like that, you can find a lot of that stuff there. So you have to dig through that. But there's some real antique and vintage sellers too, and they often, I feel like, get overlooked. So I'm going to give you some examples of some of the phenomenal stuff I found last time. Getting ready for a move, I was thinking about doing a whole wall or a small vignette of like perfume prints. So I'm just going to give you a few examples. I bought like 8, These were anywhere from 5 to 8 pounds a piece, and they're really, really old. Like some of these I would say are from the 30s through the 60s. So this, for instance, is 1948. So this is a perfume print from the House of Weil. This is a Caron. Really cool. Those were both 5 pounds. This is from Landa. So cool. Oh my gosh. That was 8 pounds. And then this is a Guerlain, 8 pounds. So you have to, it's helpful to know a little French, because I find where the whole city is set up for tourism, and I find the French to be completely gracious if you try at all to say hello and goodbye. But I found that a lot of the Bouquinistes only spoke French. My French was way worse than their English still, but still a struggle. So I at least could say, do you have any perfume art or perfume prints? And it's wild because a lot of them will just have stacks and stacks. So you might not see the stuff that you like at first. I went actually looking for fruit prints. There were beautiful prints of things like peaches and strawberries and like botanicals, really phenomenal stuff. Again, a lot of it for really good pricing. I was saying, I think I was trying to say, do you have berry prints or something? And I don't know if I mispronounced, but he said something like, maybe it's because I was reeking of perfume after trying perfumes, but he said, do you mean perfume prints? And I was like, oh yes. And so he dug through and found like 30 different perfume prints for me to look at, and they were all so well priced. So that was really exciting. And then I'm going to show you the other thing that I thought was so great, both as souvenirs, but I'm going to frame some of these too. Again, a lot of the newer like tchotchkes were like more expensive, but some of the older stuff I found people were not really looking at, and they were therefore really affordable. I found all these postcards, these vintage postcards, and most of them were £1 or €1. Sorry, do I keep saying pounds? I keep meaning euro. Sorry. I'm going to give you a few examples. These are some old, like a view of the city, but it's one of those old hand-colored postcards. That was $1. This is another example of that. It's still in plastic to protect it, but I'm going to frame them. Another example of a very old, some of these that are marked. What does this say? It's from the like early 1900s. A beautiful botanical. I thought this was freaking incredible. It's from not long after the Eiffel Tower went up. Oh my God, look at this. And it's got an old stamp on it. So I thought this would just be incredible framed. Some of these had never been used, by the way. Some of these have, like that I'm framing. But some of these had never been used, and I sent my friends a bunch of vintage postcards. They were really cool too. I found some really great ones for Pâques or Easter, and so I'm going to use those for next year. I was there around Easter time, right before, just to give you an idea. This is another great Easter one. These are all €1 a piece. Another great Eiffel Tower one. And then another great thing to do, you can find museum passes that are pretty inexpensive, especially if you want to see 2 or 3. Sometimes you can find packaged museum passes, but a lot of their postcards are only $1, $2, $3. Here are some great prints that I found at the Musée d'Orsay. Now newer ones, but I still thought worth sending or framing for a few bucks. Really great. And then there's another shop that I believe is near Les Halles. I'm going to put the name below. I think it's called Hema. I don't believe it's a French company. I think it's another like Eastern European company, but they have a lot of great cards in French, which I think is really fun. Like this essentially says like, in my next life, I will travel more. And then they had some really great bon anniversaire, like some really great birthday cards and things. And so these were $1 or $2 a piece. So really great to bring home. So paper, books, and then I would say, more splurges. I'm going to put the name of one of my favorite bookstores below. That's more of a splurge place, but you can find vintage and new books and really phenomenal stuff. And then I would just say, keep your eyes open. In most neighborhoods I've stayed in, There are always like secondhand or used books, and it's really fun, I think, to bring home something in French. Even if you don't read French, I think it's a neat memento, or a friend, you know, find yourself a French dictionary or something like that. A lot of the bouquinistes, again, will have things like that, but there are a lot of used record and bookstores all around Paris. What have we not talked about yet? Okay, I'm going to talk about a few more home goods. So again, I think in the Monoprix, now again, the sky's the limit. There are kind of cooking shops all over the place. I'm going to put some higher end ideas here. But I also found that, again, at the Monoprix, you could find the best, like really great French tea towels. Sometimes they even say the name of like French Days of the Week or a French company or something like that. You can also find, I mean, this probably seems silly, but my friends really seem to like them. I found some really great paper napkins that were, sorry, this has been used, but in French. So this says like, hello, little chicken, essentially, in French. So I brought packs of these home for people. They were a couple bucks a piece. So like home goods things, you know, you can find and can be really cute. A lot of cool stuff in the Monoprix and a lot of things that have French writing on them. I'm going to end with candy and then other cooking items. So, oh my gosh, I hit the jackpot for candy last time. I would say more of a splurge. So you can Google, you know, recommended French shops. One of my favorite cooks, and I would say like food bloggers, is David, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, Leibovitz. But he has a great running suggestion of like great chocolate shops and patisseries and things like that. I find one of the greatest places that I find to be more of a splurge, but is certainly not the top end of what you can spend on French chocolates, is a company called A la Mère des Familles. So I believe that means like the mother of the family. This has been around, does it say? Since 1761, that's all. You can find, oh my God, I will put some pictures of the shop. There's a wonderful one in Montmartre, and there's one, I believe, near Saint Germain. Hope I'm right about that, but I went to two, and they have the most exquisite, beautiful, everything from handmade chocolates, things that you won't find at home, certain kinds of caramels, like buttery, salty caramels that are made there, praline stuff that just, Now, you're not going to take this home, but homemade ice creams that are phenomenal. They had a black sesame that I could not get my hands on last time. It kept selling out, but some of this I found to be pretty affordable. You could find like a nice box of chocolates for like 10 euros, or even small pieces for a few euros to take home to somebody. And again, the bags themselves are really, really beautiful. But I'm going to talk to you about, another high-end place. I would say more mid-range is, oh no, I'm going to forget the name of it. I think it's called Les Bonbons des Palais. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This is, it's near, I think, the Sorbonne. I'm going to put the information below. I hope I'm not wrong about that. But the shop blew my mind. So I'm a marshmallow lover. I make them, I eat them. It's one of my favorite sweets. I walk by not knowing about the shop at all, and I see, you're going to see the picture here, a window of nothing but the most gorgeously colored handmade marshmallows in these glass like vitrines. I was like, what is going on in here? I went in there and it was like all candies made in France. A lot of them made in Paris. Some of them made in the south of France, all over France. And oh my gosh, so many of them were affordable. I'm going to give you an example. They had homemade suckers in like flavors you might not find at home, certain kinds of berry or myrtle, or they had like violet. You know, I think these were $1 or $2 a piece. They had all these beautiful homemade marshmallows. These are all gone. I brought tons home for people. They had flavors like violet, orange flower, rose. Now, the usual contenders, vanillas, you know, every kind of like fruit flavor you could think of, chocolate, praline, things like that. And they were just amazing. They had candied flowers. I'm going to continue to show pictures here. They treated me like $1 million. And I think, even though I found them very well priced for what they were, and they were wonderful people, beautiful shop, like nothing I've ever seen. I think I spent 100 euros on candy. I brought candy back for like 10 people, and I brought some candy back for work. Really great for the price, wonderful. And then again, there are some real like super affordable candies that are phenomenal from the Monoprix. One I'm going to recommend is they have homemade G-Moms, which are marshmallows. And again, really humble bag in a grocery store bag. But the ones I'm going to recommend, they have vanilla ones and they have raspberry ones or framboise. The framboise ones blow your mind. They're like, I think they're $1.50, $2. I brought a bag back for friends. I brought a bag back for work, and I ate a bag. They are so freaking good. You cannot, they're phenomenal, delicious. So those are a great thing that feel like $1 million and they're a couple dollars. And then the other is there are specific caramels that you can get in the French grocery stores. I think one's called like carambar, super chewy, like almost take your fillings out. You have to be careful, but they're delicious. Like a salty caramel, and those are a couple bucks too, so really great to bring home. The last thing I'm going to talk about are cooking things, everything from spices, sugars, mustards, honey, jams. This place I found, this was in kind of a fancier part of town. I'm going to put the address below, but it's called Compagnie Française des Poivres et des Épices. So I'm probably butchering that, but basically French company of peppers and spices. I got the most amazing stuff there, and some of it was a little pricey, but I thought for what you got, they were really impressive. So these were kind of for my fancier foodie friends, and then I kept a few things. These are the ones that I kept. A sugar of sugar de fleur de pommier. So this is like a burnt sugar kind of sugar, and it almost has like a smoky taste. It's phenomenal. Just a tiny bit on a baked good, a tiny bit on the top of like oatmeal or on the top of a coffee or something like that. Really amazing, smells phenomenal. I got actual tonka beans for you perfume lovers. You can scrape a little bit into a vanilla dessert or on top of a coffee, whatever. I think those, so I think these ranged like 6 pounds, something like that, but they come in these beautiful containers. And then again, they have these phenomenal bags and gift presentation. And then I got an amazing like green salt from Hawaii that is like super flavorful on vegetables. I think this was just a few euros. The tonka beans were more of a splurge. I think they were 10 or 12 euros, but something again, almost impossible to find back home and very expensive. So I thought those were really special. And then the thing I've been using the most, I think this was 6 or 8 euros. This is a tonka sugar. So they basically scrape tonka into the sugar. And when I smelled this in the shop, and the man, did not know that I was a perfume lover, I said, "Oh my gosh." And he said in French, I said, "Mon Dieu." And he said, essentially, c'est Shalimar, c'est Shalimar. It's Shalimar. And I was like, oh my God, it is. It does. It smells like sugar crossed with vanilla, crossed with Shalimar perfume. And so this, just a tiny, tiny bit on top of a coffee, is phenomenal. So really great things. I brought a bunch of these back for friends, these beautiful containers. And they even had like spice mills there, pepper grinders. And they're a bit more of a splurge, again, I think more in the 20, 30, 40 euro, but you could get like a spice mill and a really nice pepper for somebody for like 20 or 30 euros, something like that. So the place was phenomenal. The person who ran the shop was amazing. And that whole area, again, I'm going to put their address below. This place was just amazing. And then I'm going to show you a few cheaper culinary things. In most of the markets, I'm going to put a few pictures of jams, jellies, confitures there in French, from the markets. There are a lot of them that you can find for $2, $3, $4, and they'll wrap them. Oh my gosh, they're used to selling to tourists. They will wrap them so well that like, oh my God, they wrap them so well for me that like I had no problem bringing them home. This is an example. I think these are just a couple euros. This is a pear and vanilla jam or confiture. I brought home some like chestnut paste for people, some praline paste. I think they were $2 or $3. I brought home some honey. I brought home some wine flavored jams that were amazing. These were all like 2, 3 euros. So you can find great things at markets. And then again, I found a bunch of things at the Monoprix. Now I'm addicted to these. I've gotten them every time I've gone to Paris. This is a simple thing, but they're vanilla flavored sugars in little packets. I don't ever see these at home, but these are great for baking, for desserts, for on top of oatmeal again, or anything like that. Just amazing, beautiful. And this is I think these were like 1.5 euros. And I think there's 4 or 5 packets of sugar in here. They're really great for tea. Two of my favorite spices are, one is persilade. It's like a mix. It's basically like parsley, dried parsley, garlic, and sometimes there'll be something lemony or some pepper in here. I just find it to be great on everything. This is a couple bucks. I know it's not the fanciest container, but it's great and people love it. I bring that back as a gift to people. This is a bit more of a splurge. It's a certain kind of pepper that's only, I think, made there. It's called d'Espelette pepper. And these are more like $8 or $10, but it's very, I don't know if you can tell, this is very large. It's like as big as my hand. And this will last me all year, but it is, they often use this pepper in oils to put on pizza or pasta. I put this on just about anything. It is a mid-range to mild pepper that has a lot of flavor dried. It's beautiful. So definitely recommend that. I got that at the Monoprix. You can also get it at fancier spice shops. And then last but not least, it's fun to just bring home really great French salt. So I always bring home fleur de salt. Again, these are a wonderful salt that's made near the ocean there. It's basically like the crust of the salt and water, and super flavorful, wonderful salt. I think these run €2 or €3. So, and this will last me a year usually. And they just look great in the counter, I think. So a lot of ideas we have here for souvenirs. So I would love to hear from you. Did any of these ideas resonate for you? What would you like to bring home most? What have you brought home if you've been to Paris or spent much time in France? Do you have any other questions about my travels? There are of course things I didn't mention here, so I'd love to know if you have any other suggestions that I haven't talked about, but hopefully this is a help to you if you're considering going to France, or even if it's another place. Hopefully this is just an idea of like how to be creative around everything from budget to splurge souvenirs. Hope you're well. Talk soon. Bye.